It's the time for the package from China time, and yeah, the reason why, because it's going to be chit-chatting about the jungle of game boxes. And you know, when it comes to the game boxes, we have seen all kinds of, let's say, game boxes. Think about the Game Box thingy, Magic Game Box, Super Console X, Game Station, you name it, we've seen it all. But let's do a chit-chat about all the fake mini consoles they've made throughout the years. So let's start off with some weird ones. I want to welcome you to the Wicked Gamer and Collector. I wanted to kick it off with the fake Xbox clones that we have bought throughout the year from AliExpress, and yep, there are many of them. The Xbox One was particularly cloned the most, but they also released a mini Xbox. It was kind of cool, to be honest, but some of them were very horrible. You shouldn't pick them up. The first one I've reviewed was the X game system, the Xbox N's Mini Clone or fake case. Kind of funny, but also kind of like, yeah, let's put it this way, it's just laughable. But the first one I've reviewed was from Datafrog and was a completely different version. But I mean, like, the box was completely different. The product inside was still the same shit, absolutely. But I also made a review about it, and yo boy, this was not really bad. There were the days where you shouldn't buy something from AliExpress. I'm happy that they changed it out, but also with the X game, they did some, let's say, changes that were quite interesting. But I can tell you, it's quite laughable. And I mean, the quality in general. I've picked it up a very long time ago, and this thing is absolutely weird. It looks like an Xbox, but it isn't nearly an Xbox when it comes to the quality. So inside, it's all like a freaking cable nightmare, because I bought it second hand. This was not actually packaged from China. I found it on the internet and I was like, you know, let's take a closer look at it. So it comes with a very flimsy 5-volt power supply, 1000 Pro HDMI. The thing I personally what I liked were the controllers, because these were not super bad. The controls in general, very cool translucentation, it feels still very cheaply. You can even hear it, it's absolutely really cheap quality, but not like the cheap one, the ones that are super chemical. They're still coming with the rubberized joysticks. The D-pad feels way too sturdy, so I really don't like it. And the A, B, C and D buttons are absolutely cheap, horrible feel. I think the positive thing about the controllers are actually the joysticks. Yeah. So when it comes to these China consoles, there was something they need to rip off. And this time the Xbox One S is one of those. At the front we're going to get two USB ports for plugging in the controller. Oh, and try some different controllers. It's absolutely freaking nightmare finding other ones that will work on this. So at the front we do get the on-off switch. You would say hey, what's so special about the on-off switch? I can tell you with those say game boxes nowadays, it's more like a gamble. Because they're making no on and off switches on some game systems nowadays. Yeah, you would say it would be a normal thing, but that isn't. But when you're looking at the back, what I find quite interesting with this system, that we do have the option for HDMI and also AV out. An input over here, 5 volts for the power supply with a barrel jack, and we had the option to even add some games. First test I wanted to do is basically some beefcake and dinos. So just to see how MAME is running on this, but I can tell you it is not running very well. It does have a lot of screen tearing, and the audio, oh boy, listen to it yourself because it's not great. It's unfortunate and general problem with the emulator itself. I think they're just running a bad emulator on this, and there's no way of switching it out. And also Alien vs Predator will have the same freaking issues. Loading up with some game mode fonts. This is basically what happens. My game froze, and when I'm trying to boot up the system, it's absolutely dead. Yeah, so this is the quality what it is with the X game system. Shit show of products. It was absolutely garbage in many different ways. Not 100%, more 80%. They made a pro version, and I can tell you they messed it up again. And that was more the moment I was thinking why do I make these videos? Oh yeah, to warn people. But also when you're looking at the X Game Pro, 800 to 1, the other was with 800 different, I think the other was come with 600. Yeah, there it was 600. Yeah, the game speed FPS 1-on-1 output, you know, stuff like that makes you wonder, what were they thinking? Well, let's take a close look in it. But what are we going to get in the inside? So let's open it up. Alright, so we already did an unboxing of the X game system, and the Pro is basically like the newer model. So they are saying Pro, they love to make those names like Pro. Another thing you can already see, like normally we do have like maybe a fan in here, but you can already get a sneak peek, there's nothing in the inside. This thing was almost nothing. So what is also like a weird thing is sometimes we do get like okay controllers, but most of the time do get like crappy ones. For example, these like Frankenstein PlayStation 2 knockoff ones. Like the D-pad is awful, like 4 separate buttons, but also it's absolutely garbage. The ABXY are okay, but they feel very stiff when you're pressing them in. And we do get like rubberized joysticks, but they are absolutely like the cheap quality. The unfortunate thing is with these freaking controllers, we do have USB, but it is not always told that you can use, let's say, a random Xbox controller for this. In the inside we do get an HDMI cable, a very cheap power supply. Here, look at this. It's already cracked, so that's how thin the plastic is. And of course we cannot even call this thing in like a freaking like a toilet paper manual, because that's it. Besides having like a shitload of screen tearing with some of the systems, I must say like the arcade stuff doesn't run really bad. PlayStation 1 is a little bit of a mixed bag. So when you're looking at the emulation performance, it's pretty damn good. When you go into the SD card, we can even like add new games, and there we're going to get the big issue. I did manage to get some games or some .img files to work. So out of nothing, one of my favorite games, a game can finally be booted up. So that is something, a very unique situation, because I had a lot of issues with a lot of these games. And the third model, and the weird thing is like we went from the X game to X game Pro, and now it's not an X game anymore. They just call this thing the HD game. It also comes with 800. And they still have like the same thing going on, like the game speed, FPS 101 output. The model is completely different now. It doesn't look like any like resemblance of an Xbox, like the Series S clone. But they did still this weird thing, like putting here the logos of PlayStation. You know, it's kind of messy. But let's take a close look at the inside. It's also like the Xbox systems from AliExpress. Yeah, that comes by many names, even like Soldier Boy. That was like a period in time that they like released Soldier Boy systems, but I never got myself this HD game version. Like this was last one they basically released. It comes with the option to add a TF card, HDMI out, old school VGA out, and the input for the 5-volt power supply. So yeah, so this thing has a lot of things to offer, but is it any good? So it comes with a very strange cable, barrel jack to USB, but there is no power supply, what I can see. And it comes with 2 chemical controllers, and yep, oh, these things smell very chemical. But what about the system? Yeah, what about it? So basically what you're going to get is an on and off switch at the front, 2 times USB. At the back, already shown you, we're going to get an input for the power supply, and we do have like the old school if you want to plug it in a CRT, HDMI out, and the TF slot. So that's basically it. Like this thing is not very heavy. We're also going to do a teardown later on this video, but let's plug it in first and let's see what we're going to get with the software and how good or how bad it is. Alright, so let's power it on and let's see what are we going to get with the boot up menu. I can still remember one of the first ones I've reviewed of the X series or the Xbox ones. I think this thing had like this weird like Windows 98 intro, but that's something they removed with the new edition. Okay, so what can we do with it? So basically what we can do is playing some arcade games. We have the option for 8-bit, 16-bit, and we also have the option to play some portable devices. So when it comes to the functionality, I think it's quite interesting, so we can do a lot of things with it. But the first one I have reviewed back in the day that had like the support for PlayStation was pretty damn rubbish. So I'm hoping that we can play some PlayStation 1 and if it's going to be working very well. So another thing I've noticed, like the menu seems to be working very nice and very fast. Another option I wanted to try out is the SD card function. So I just slapped in a random one I've laying around, and just wanted to see if we can boot up some games. Because it had some issues back in the day, especially with PlayStation 1. But okay, so that's something we're also going to do. So the first thing that we're going to try out is some Capcom or Neo Geo. Let's see what happens if we're going to boot it up. You can see we do have a list. It basically shows the files internally with a tiny picture. Okay, so next up, let's try some Famicom games. Oh man, this controller is freaking a pain in the ass to play with. I don't see any slowdowns. I do see the same screen tearing that we have seen before, but the overall performance is absolutely not bad. Okay, so where it mostly goes wrong is with the Game Boy Advance. You can hear that sound that is absolutely not like it should be. So the sound itself is absolutely messed up. I think the first one I've reviewed was a couple of years ago, and it seems to be like even this is a brand new model, they still didn't fix the audio issue. So let's see if we're going to have like a shitload of screen tearing too. You can see like that it has like such a big audio delay. Wow. But also what is unfortunate, there's no aspect ratio option and nothing to do with it when it comes to problems. But here you can see like this seems to be running just fine. So where not every part of the systems is bad, it's just completely garbage. Especially by looking at, let's say, the first generation. My first Xbox just broke down because the internal SD card was like fried or somehow. Nevertheless, these things are absolutely laughable bad. But let's move on to some other things, because they made so many of those, let's say, Xbox, PlayStation and whatever clones. The model number is the D20 already mentioned before. Power input 5 volts 2 amp, and they're not going to give you a power supply most of the time. The power output is 6 watt 4 ohm, so this thing seems to be having a built-in speaker. And of course, Ultra HD output. So they clearly want to say that it is an audio game console, not your typical game console. What are we going to get when it comes to the emulation? It's the same stuff that I've seen many times before. PlayStation 1, Arcade, Super Famicom, Famicom, Mega Drive, Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Classic, Color and Atari. I must give them some extra kudos when it comes to the quality of the box itself. It looks kinda nice and it does feel like a very cool unboxing experience. They did nail absolutely the presentation and how everything has been packed up. Absolutely nailed it when it comes to the device itself. So the device looks great. This is a very cool fun novelty just to have in your collection, to just display it at all. Even if this thing has horrible emulation. Here having an extra button, the mode and the game, and a volume control that even has a micro switch beneath it. Then having over here the LED. At the bottom we're going to get a very thick, very nice quality rubber, so giving a very nice grip. We do have like a very good weight to it, and I think that is the reason because there isn't speaker at the bottom. Over here we're having line in, type C for the input for the power supply. There needs to be an option, or there is somewhere an SD card, but there is not an SD card in here, so we can add that. HDMI and 2 USB ports at the back. Connected, if you can even find the freaking thing. Bluetooth have been connected. So let's check out if you have the option to add the Bluetooth connection. It keeps searching, but so far I have been messing with it. I couldn't find anything. Let's try again, search it, but it keeps searching and it seems to be nothing is working. But after a couple of attempts, I managed to get the freaking D20 to set up. Let's see if it's going to be connecting. There we go. Yep. Oh yeah. And now we can listen to some music through the Xbox Mini. But one thing is for sure, it doesn't go like super loud. So this is actually what we're going to get in the menu itself. It's a little bit messy. What I did notice that the responsiveness of the menu is very fast and I really like it. We're going to get class, history, collection and the search. The quality of the audio is not bad at all. We haven't already seen it when it comes to the Bluetooth speaker functionalities. It's kind of cool. Also the emulation for MAME, so far I can see it runs pretty damn good. The analog stick and the D-pad, everything works as a charm. Let's test some more MAME games. I just wanted to double check the audio settings. And don't hear the weird stuff that we've seen and heard when it comes to Pandora's boxes. Let's move on to the NES part. And actually I see how it runs. So far so good. No problem whatsoever. Let's go to the screen settings. Let's set it to 4:3. Resume. And there we go. Okay, so let's take a close look at this, because they mess up the audio of the intro. Let's boot up the game, actually see how the game runs, but also having all of the music. But let's be honest, if there is no music, it misses the soul of the game. Nope, there is no audio, or at least music at the background. Construction-wise, this is a quite interesting piece of technology. They have significantly improving all of these, let's say, mini, but also normal consoles. There is still a lot of stuff that they need to improve. Yeah, so one of the things with this mini one, that it comes with a built-in speaker, that is not a bad thing, but we need to use the built-in speakers, as far I know. Yeah, you know, these minor things, yeah, that is what they mess up mostly. If it's like bad emulation, it's going to be weird things like slapping some piece of metal in to give this thing some weight. So the idea is kind of cool, and I think this is just more like a fun novelty than actually like using this like a daily game console. Because let's be honest, like the emulation where a lot of stuff is great, there's stuff that they still need to improve. Nevertheless, it's so much better than the previous models, the Xbox or the Xbox One versions. But let's see what we're getting more when it comes to this other version, because they've made so many clones. The PlayStation clones, we have many of them. The PlayStation 1, the old school PlayStation, but also having the PlayStation 5 Mini. There are crazy a lot of them, with even a built-in PAPII Super 8-bit game. This is one of those, like say, wicked Chinese ones that cost around like $15. They come even including 2 controllers and a light gun, and they look like a PlayStation 1 slim model. Yep, and it even comes including a multi-game card. The kits include a light gun, or this weird looking, very cheap one. Hope I'm surprised that I'm going to be breaking, and some weird like mini controllers with no shoulder buttons. Clearly another Famicom. It's kind of cool to play these old school games, but the visual and audio quality is absolutely horrible. So when it comes to like enjoying Famicom games, in my opinion, this is not the way how you want to do it. It's a fun novelty to look at, but that's the only thing. But let's go on with the show, because there is so much craziness that I've reviewed here. Of the PlayStation 1 Mini being released, yeah, they also implemented these like PlayStation 1 Mini clones. Yep, they were continuing the saga of 8-bit stuff, but the only difference is they're having a different case. And this is what I've seen a lot with NESs, Super NESs, PlayStation Mini, and even Sega Minis. Yeah, it's absolutely funny, but also kind of bad at the same time. But now with a built-in multi-game card, 620 games, and the same cheap controllers with the flimsy overall feel, you cannot break them easily, but they smell pretty awful. But the overall, let's say, quality, yeah, it's different. Simply because we're also using a USB port now, but no, you cannot plug in like say a random Xbox or a Bito controller. These things are very limited. So when it comes to these Super NES or NES or PlayStation Minis, there are all kinds of different versions out there, and you can see there's quite some interesting overall, let's say, form factor difference between all of them. And when you're going to be stacking them all up, you can just see how big and how small the last version is. And on top, of course, is the new version, or at least the release version with the USB ports. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to be doing over there, but it's kind of interesting to see all of them. And comparing them with the original PlayStation 1 Mini, they didn't put a lot of effort in details, but they managed to get at least the form factor right, so far I can actually compare and see over here. And I think also this is one of my favorite ones, called the Fun Station, where they ripped off the PlayStation logo and made it an F. Yeah, so this is absolutely one of those systems that I needed to pick up. It's in very bad condition, the plastic is horrible, you can even see the connectors are just completely crooked, and this is nothing to do with the wear, and you cannot even open it normally. Plug in your Famicom cartridge and just play. But oh boy, this thing is really bad, and I needed to pick it up and also implement it in this video. So when you find this on like a flea market, you're paying like $1 or $2 for it. Maybe you can try it and have some fun with it. But yeah, there is nothing good about it. And I mean, particularly the case, the controllers, there is absolutely nothing. It's fascinated to see what you're getting in the inside, and particularly looking at almost nothing. It's 4 PCBs, and this is a lot because when you're looking at the newer generations, the PCBs are getting smaller, but the quality in the inside, you can just see that it still seems to be in overall good condition, where the outer shell has a lot of wear and tear. And after the years, I don't know exactly how old this is, but I'm guessing at least like maybe in 5± years. And yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy to see how the overall quality is, and it still works. You can just plug in your Famicom games and just enjoy. And this is actually impulse systems from what I understand of. PCB going over here with some ribbon cables, nothing fancy, nothing, let's say, new that we have seen before. But when it comes to the 8-bit stuff, they even released, let's say, mini PlayStation 5 version with 8-bit called the Gamebox 5. The weird thing is, if you're looking at Gamebox 5, there are all kinds of different versions out there, like multi-emulators, but also 8-bit versions only. It's kind of confusing and absolutely a mess, with most of the system basically looking the same, but the giveaway will be the box or actually the controllers that come with it. But yeah, also this is kind of a mess. Or maybe it does. So I have seen those, let's say, weird mini PlayStation 5 ones, but this is seriously like one of those tiny, this is like a mini version. Like, it's kind of cool. It even has like the 5 on it. So at the front we're going to get ourselves the reset. We do have like a power on and off, just a sliding switch. At the front 2 USB ports and the LED for power indication. At the back we're going to get an AV out and input for a mini USB. Wow, that's a very long time I've seen that one. This is some old school stuff. Look at this. Oh boy, this is really bad. Like, I have seen my share of like, say, systems, but this is like 4 steps back. Okay, wrong button. Let's run for it. The conclusion about the Gamebox 5 is that it's more like a fun novelty to display, but that's it. Playing this, it's not going to be a pleasant overall experience, especially when it comes to the controllers. But later on they also created a Gamebox 5, a mini with PlayStation 5 knockoff controllers, and this thing could play way more than 8-bit with many different options, and the overall emulation was not even that bad. We had some minor problems, but I could live with it. Another system I'm really looking forward to check out on this is the Dreamcast. Yep, we have a PlayStation 5 Mini from China that can actually play Dreamcast, or how well will it run. I cannot show you the FPS because there is no way to actually enable this. So I'm just going to look at how the image will look, but also how the overall audio will sound. Okay, so we're starting off that the analog stick hasn't been configured. Consideration if you're looking into some arcade stuff, there's a lot of stuff that can actually play on this, but if you want to get into Tekken MAME or Killer Instinct, that will not run at all here. But so far the overall performance is quite nice. I did hear some crackling noise in the audio. That can be a problem of the emulator or the supported files in here. But the overall, I say, experience is pretty damn cool, and we can play like absolutely like hundreds of thousands supported games on this device. What is kind of funny, they also made a PlayStation 2 Slim Mini Clone. Yeah, so this case, I think it's not 100% a clone of the original one, but the thing is, it's interesting because it plays everything but PlayStation 2. So that makes it even funny at the same time. It's kind of funny, to be honest. So when you're looking at this, it does look very nice. It doesn't look one-on-one, but you do see like the mold still has like a weird like PlayStation 2 memory card slot. We do have the power here, the reset. At the front we do get a normal SD slot. So the way this thing is made is quite interesting. Okay, so next up, let's try a game, and just wanted to see how good or bad this D-pad is. So the D-pad feels really sturdy and cheap, but it seems to be like working after all, so I'm surprised. So and the same goes for the analog stick. So the controllers, they are like chemical, and they are not the best I have seen, but they're responsive. So I give them some extra kudos for that. Overview of the menu, what you can do with it. Take consideration, there is no way of getting into the menu, change out emulator, stuff like that. This is just plug and play. So the big list is just the messy list. Like everything has been slapped in one list. I don't like it at all. Pressing the shoulder button, you go to the type, or in other words, platforms. This thing plays everything but PlayStation 2, how funny that it actually is. So PlayStation 1, they get some arcade, Neo Geo, NES, so let's say 8-bit, Game Boy, 16-bit. So mostly of the time I will play with the analog stick, but of course we're having the option to play with the original controller from PlayStation 2. So that's, in my opinion, quite awesome. Okay, so next up, let's try some Super Nintendo, and I find the game running okay, and everything looks kind of choppy. And I think the main reason is not because it's stretched out, because the emulators are running on such a weird resolution. I have noticed it with other emulators. It doesn't. Also, the system itself doesn't run on full HD. The PlayStation 2 Mini Slim Thin Clone, or also known as the PAPII, I think Nick is one of those, let's say, stores selling this. It's quite surprisingly how good it runs. But the inside, yeah, there was nothing much to see in here. But again, I made like an in-depth review about this product too. So you should check it out if you're interested to see actually more about this. Another product they made is the PlayStation 4 Pro Mini, or that's actually how it's called. This thing is just called Game Machine Wired Edition. Yep, they also came with, I think it was Xbox controllers and Super NES controllers. Yeah, what a mess. Absolutely all kinds of different versions, but this was more like a multi-emulator machine. One of those first generation, and yeah, the reason I'm particularly saying first generation, yeah, they were not great at all. The same like the Xbox shenanigans. About the controls, because I don't get it why they're giving you Super NES controllers. Holy shit. These things are the most horrible Super NES controllers I've ever felt. The buttons got a very long travel. The buttons are very long, by the way. Select start. The D-pad is not even, I cannot even say it's flimsy or so. It's just so horrible. And the shoulder buttons, yeah, I think I don't need to see any more. But the system itself, here's where we're going to get really interesting. Because we're having two versions out there. Yeah, there are two versions, one with Super NES controllers that you see here, and also one with Xbox controllers. And the same one also comes with PlayStation controllers. But the systems are almost more like in paperweight. There is nothing almost inside like a tiny PCB. First thing I'm noticing that is pretty funny. The software itself, it's the same that they are using, for example, the X9. The home software. The layout itself, what you're seeing here, is a little bit differently. Alright, we're having classic game. Can already tell you, the controls are freaking horrible. We have a GBA here. Let's see the GBA games, Neo Geo, and we have a zip folder. But some games I'm seeing MAME. Alright. NES games, there's no files, and a video folder. So what it does, it basically brings you through the browser function. We have NES games. Okay, it seems to be there are NES games on this thing. Oh, it brings you to the NES folder. Okay, weird stuff. We can play some videos, low resolution videos of course, and listen to music. And we're having the SD card, so when you're pushing in the SD card, you can add new games. But that's something we're going to take a close look at it later. Let's do a little bit of a testing, because there's nothing much to see here anymore. Let's see if I can maybe go to the menu. Ah, here it is. No. Right, we can format internal memory. Never do this. If you do this, you don't have any files left. And there is volume control. So yeah, basically because this software is made for a portable system. Stop going around with the sound. Okay, what did I just do? Oh, I pressed a button. Yeah, people, I messed it up already. Yep. Sound is not perfect. And the frames are not very stable. I know if it's the controller or it's the delay in the system. Some weird stuff going on. Weird stuff is going on. That's just an honest statement. What's kind of interesting that you can just see that says over here Capcom. Okay, so this thing is made in 2016. Oh baby, like not only the software part, but also when it comes to like so the internal parts, there is a lot of weird stuff going on. Okay, so yeah, this is one of those very tiny mini computers or PCBs inside of these things. It's quite interesting just to see how they actually all make it. It's unfortunate the software just is really bad on these things. But move on, because there were so many more crazy things they released. A product I think you can only find nowadays on the second market is the Ultra 8-bit video game system. A complete kit with two controllers and a light gun, yeah. There is no AV out cable. I got a spare one laying around, but that's one of those things that I really hate by getting like secondhand stuff. That people just thinking, oh, there is no AV out cable, let's just sell it like that. But the Argo system, that is something that is a quite interesting piece of technology, and not because of how, let's say, graphical advanced it is, no, absolutely not. Just the way how it looks. At the front we're going to get two controller ports, and one especially for the light gun. Then we're going to get the cartridge slot that we have seen before. I can say like the games go in very hard and almost impossible to get out. Power, reset. At the back we're going to get the input for the AV out 6V, and of course we're going to get then, yeah, a video out. So it seems that the mold was ready for an RF, but they already removed it. But it's called the Argo TV game system, model number UT60. So the question remains, is something like this worth picking up? I must say, like, I love these old school games. But it's kind of a little bit of a bummer that these things are very bad quality. And I was lucky I got a couple of them in my storage, so I can manage to get one or piece one together and get it working. But it's really a bummer that this sometimes has such big problems with these cheap devices. Alright guys, so next up I wanted to try the light gun, the original one that came with it, with the floppy cable. That one is broken, so I managed to find another one that seems to be working, so let's play some old school duck hunt. Alright, let's see if we can shoot some ducks. Oh yeah, it seems to be working just fine. Alright, next round. Crap. Crap. There it is. Here he goes. Woo. Cheating, cheating. Oh, so the lighting seems to be working just fine. So the overall configuration is when I say the same, almost the same in many different ways. It's it's like a NES on the chip, they called it. So when it comes to, let's say, the front PCB, there we're finding the most interesting thing with a separate port for the light gun. But besides that, everything seems to be working just fine as it is. And he also ripped off the Wii. Yep, in the Nintendo Wii time, and when this thing was like completely like sold out, people wanted all have the Wii. Yeah, they also made a lot of clone versions with a weird looking 8-bit, 16-bit stylish combination. I've checked out a lot of these older clones and I can tell you they are so bad that they are absolutely laughable. This particular one even says it comes with 60-bit CPU core, 7 interactive super sport games and 32 arcade games. But what are we going to get inside the box? We're going to get ourselves a normal controller. Yeah, this is like your old school one, like with the infrared connection. It seems to be that we do have an on and off switch. This thing works on 3 AAA batteries, nothing really fancy. Then we have like the rip-off Wii remotes. These things are weighing quite heavy, have like this, not like the real same technology, like the same motion stuff, but we're going to try it out. And then we have like the weird football. Like this is only what you can find with these weird looking, let's say, Wii clones. Then we do have like the Wii system itself that comes with a select or a reset, so we can select your new game. And we do have like a power switch. Feels like it's broken, but okay. Here you can open it up and put in the cartridge, because we do get 2 of them. And I'm guessing this is the 7-in-1, the arcade stuff. They can plug in and play. And here do we get ourselves the arcade games. They keep me wondering, like, if you open this up, is there a chip inside? I don't know if you can open it up. No, you cannot open it up very easily. But the point is, like I already see, like there is a chip in here. You can see it on the camera. But so that means that actually like the games are on these multi-game cards. But it's working just fine. So let's try another game. Let's see how this Skyhawk is. I'm curious. Oh yeah, sound dangerous. Okay, so let's see. You can even play it with 2 players. Quite interesting. Okay, so we have 4 different fighter jets to choose from. And again, we got the same sound effect. They're just reusing sound effects. We got the bouncing power up. Oh, that's sweet. We do have like a turbo button. Come on. What the freaking hell did hit me? I have no idea. So let's see if we can do anything in the main menu. Ah, there it is. There it goes. Let's try the freaking tennis. Press start. Don't be so happy, smart ass. Come on. I have the idea I can give it some effect. See, so I cannot cheat, I think. So yeah, the Wii clone. And I can tell you they made like a dozen of these things. All different configurations. Some of the software are quite similar. So I'm guessing there's one manufacturer actually making the software and other manufacturer like putting these things together. So the clone shenanigans is going on for quite a long time now. That is absolutely clear when you're looking at this on PlayStation 1, some N64, and this particular Wii model with this very strange cartridges. And yep, they also ripped off the Switch. It took quite a long time to actually see a good clone or mini clone version coming out, because there are a lot of like say weird ones that make no sense. Think about like an X70 or whatever handheld that just uses similarities from the Switch, but not the one with the loose Joy-Cons, and they were quite ingenious with this particular version. And man, this thing looks bulky and very thick. And oh man, this thing is freaking awesome in my opinion. You can even slide the joysticks out. It has no motion whatsoever. The way how everything has been made, there is no connection like with an original Nintendo Switch. It's just a piece of plastic that you're going to be sliding in. The bezel is also very huge compared with the original Switch. And yeah, let's be honest, this is absolutely laughable bad. But it doesn't matter. Okay, let's get this thing off. Oh, there we go. We can even like put it in a certain position. That's also kind of cool. And if we're going to remove this, oh, we need to have again a screwdriver. We can actually put in the battery. And that's the first thing that we're going to do. Okay, every single screw has been removed, and yeah, what is also kind of interesting, that we do have the option for 4 separate batteries, or the lithium battery that we're having inside this kit. A certain configuration, everything works like it should be. Having the left D-pad for navigating through the menu, and if you want to start a certain game, you can just use the start at the right if you want to. Yeah, and this is not normal when you're going to be like disconnecting the controllers. So when you're going to disconnect the controllers, you're going to be holding in the same configuration like I did before when there was attached to the system. You can see that doesn't work anymore. It's quite ingenious what they did over here. And the way how this actually works, there is a tiny pin in here. So when I'm going to be holding it, I'm going to grab the same controller. Now you can see that I can move up and down like this. If I'm going to lose it, it will basically not work anymore. So I need to use a controller like this. You know, it's absolutely a cool tweak that they made in the system to give it more like a Nintendo Switch vibe going on. Okay, that's kind of interesting to see that I'm actually like booting up into the different stage, the stage I didn't want. So let's get a reset. But why not try the 2-player configuration in combination with the TV out function? So when it comes to the overall quality, I am not really pleased by it. Simply because when it comes to the overall, let's say the way how it looks, on an LCD, it looks pretty damn bad. And another thing that I also hear is a very annoying static sound that comes because of the really low quality cable or the AV out signal itself. But how about the 2-player controls? Does this actually work? So first of all, this is the player 1 and it seems to be having no input delay or crazy things going on. The only thing I've noticed that you need to press the button quite hard to actually get something going on. So where they put quite some effort in this, it would even be cooler to have like a multi-platform emulator, not only 8-bit, but beside that, the overall quality, it's not super bad, but also not like super great. It's absolutely laughable what they made over the years, and yep, also this game magic thingy is not bad at all. The PlayStation, the Xbox, the Wii, the Switch, you know, they made all kinds of crazy clone versions of them, and most of them make no sense whatsoever. Especially when you're looking at the first generation, they were really bad when it comes to the quality, and also like the 8-bit shenanigans all the freaking time. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, let me know what is your favorite one or which one do you hate the most, and it would be great to see you in the next video.